FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark. And tonight on the phone, I have not one but two members of the band Tetrarch, that being Josh and Diamond. And first of all, guys and gals, thank you so much for joining me. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing awesome. Thank you so much for having us, by the way. We're stoked to talk to you tonight. But everything's awesome. We're hanging out in Atlanta with some family away from LA for a couple weeks and just hanging out, trying to stay inside, stay healthy.
I was going to say, when you said you were in Atlanta, but I think you guys kind of base out of LA. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, so we're actually based out of like the North Hollywood area in LA.
Okay. So let's get the background, I guess. This is obviously for our listeners here, which we've been spinning I'm Not Right, and now we just added your new song, You Never Listen. We'll get to all of that coming up here in a little bit in the interview, but let's get the background, I guess, of how this band all came about. Whoever wants to go with that.
So me and Diamond actually met each other in middle school in the 7th grade. We were in, I think it was like English class together, Diamond, and sitting in the class, and Diamond thought it would be funny to pull a chair out from behind me when I was leaning back in it, and that was kind of an introduction to her. So we started. I was jamming with some friends from the school, and Diamond was playing guitar and asked to join the band. And stupidly at the time, I was like, I don't really want a girl in the band. And needless to say, thankfully, I'm glad that kind of changed. So we just jammed with each other through middle, high school, and just stuck with it.
Is that pretty much the story, Diamond? You pulled a chair away from him?
I did. I don't even know why. I say all the time, I guess it was like the universe aligning. Like, you need to meet this person. So, he was just leaning back. You know how you can lean your chair back on the desk? And I, pulled my desk back to kind of, make him feel like he was going to fall. And, after that, he was we went to a small private school. So he was really the only other person in the school that played rock guitar or heavy metal guitar or anything, and I was just getting into it. So he was naturally the person that I was like, all right, I need to become friends with him, maybe we could start a band. And finally when he did let me come jam, the rest was history after that. We just started playing all the time, and we weren't Tetrarch at the time, we were just playing covers and stuff, but we slowly became Tetrarch and took that long journey to get where we are now.
Nice. Did you ever get in trouble for pulling that chair out or not?
Nah. No, he didn't fall. If he had a fell, maybe I would have got some more trouble, but he caught himself. It was fine.
Okay. I didn't know if you had to go to the principal's office or something.
No, nah. For some reason, I escaped trouble a good bit in school. I was always on the verge of getting in trouble, but I never got into big trouble,
That's all right. That's
the only trouble Diamond got into was not wearing the right uniform to school. It would always be the wrong jacket or, something like that.
Well, obviously, if you like rock, then you got to rebel, right?
Got to do, yeah, I know. And I would wear my band shirts under my, uniform, and then they kind of cut that out and said no band shirts under your uniform. And it was always stuff I would park in the principal's parking spot. I was getting dumb stuff like that. Not enough stuff to get you in mega trouble, but enough to where you get scolded. What? Why? I don't know why.
So how many years now have you guys been, I guess, as the band Tetrarch then?
I would say we in 2007-ish.
Okay.
Is when we decided on the name Tetrarch and started playing out as Tetrarch.
Okay.
Yeah, we were still in high school at the time, but yeah.
So then the name, I guess, got to ask the name. A lot of times the name's one of the questions that gets asked, but, got to ask why you chose the name and the meaning behind the name.
Yeah, so we were both in a history class with each other in, I believe, 10th grade, and the teacher was talking about a tetrarch, and it was a government ruled by 4 people, and we both just thought that sounded like it could be a metal name, and we took it, and it just kind of stuck.
Yeah, it's a kingdom ruled by 4 people, and we're like, oh, there's 4 people in our band. That's awesome. So, and it was, we had gone through several names at this point. You have to understand, I think like even before I was in it, they were like Plan B, and we went through Tri-Colt and like a bunch of weird names that were just bad. And so Tetrarch was the best one, and it luckily ended up sticking through like after 6 or 7 really bad names. I think we were like Hybrid Theory at one point. I don't even know.
Well, it happens. I'm curious though. And I not only do obviously have the show here, but I'm a hockey play-by-play announcer, and of course I get all sorts of names that you have to figure out how to pronounce. How difficult has it been for DJs to pronounce your name, or have they gotten it right away?
I will say, you say it perfect, and it's amazing. Thank you. But like, it's interesting. It's gotten a lot better over the last like probably 2 years.
Okay.
It still trips up a lot of people, but we always know we have to include like pronunciation and emails and stuff like that, so they get it. When like Jeff or someone introduces us to them. But it was hard. Like we've been on tours when we were doing like DIY tours and stuff where people say our name in so many different ways: Tetrarch, Tetrarch, Tetrarch. Like we've gotten so many different things, but so it's been pretty difficult for people. But it's gotten a lot better. Like so.
I gotcha. Well, sometimes it's important to have a name that you can be said, but then again, maybe it's not. It's just what's behind it, and that's the music that you guys play, right?
Yeah, I mean, people, when we were younger, they'd be like, "Oh, you should change," and we just like stuck to our guns, like, "Nah, we're not going to change it." And luckily, like the more the band grows and people become interested in the band and stuff, the easier it seems to get for everybody to know the correct pronunciation of the name. So it's kind of actually cool to see. It's like you can be like, oh, you can tell we're growing even just from like people being able to say the name right,
The pandemic obviously is kind of overtaken the world with everything, and obviously the music industry too. And it's also hurt up-and-coming bands. And I kind of put you in that category as an up-and-coming band as you're trying to break through and become something bigger. I guess, what have you guys done over the last year here to try to get your name out there more and to try to get more people interested in your band?
Honestly, a big thing that we always say, especially in like the music industry or any industry really, you have to learn to adapt. And like, it really sucks, to have a pandemic. You can't tour. It's not ideal. It's not something that anyone really knows how to deal with. But we knew that we had to adapt, and we couldn't let it stagnate our growth. And so crazy enough, like last year was probably one of the biggest years we've ever had as a band, not even playing a show, which touring is like considered to be one of our best selling points, being, our live show. So it was pretty amazing how big of a year we had last year just with I'm Not Right. And, we kind of attribute that to just, when the pandemic happened, we were like, hey, we still have to find ways, figure out how to grow, find ways to get our music to people. And it panned out for us. So where a lot of bands just kind of sat stagnant, didn't know what to do, we just like broke through so many barriers and milestones last year. And I like I said, it's crazy to say it because like I say all the time, I hate like finding joy in like people's misery right now because everyone else is like, man, this really sucks. And it does, don't get me wrong. But it's been like actually really, really good to us. Like I just don't even, I guess because we looked at it as an opportunity to maybe even get our name out there even more. Because there wasn't so much traffic to sift through, maybe.
Yeah, and we had kind of lucked out too timing-wise because we had just gotten done finishing up recording our full-length album, Unstable, in December of 2019. So, we had the music done, ready to go. We shot the music video, I think, maybe 3 days before everything shut down. So we were kind of in a good spot to kind of watch and see how everything unfolded, and we just kind of take the time we thought was right to put I'm Not Right out, and it panned out.
Yeah, it did pan out for you, and it's a song that was able to break the charts for you, and that's huge. I mean, charts are one thing, but when you're a programmer, you're looking at what other people are doing and listening to. So when you see that and you see the band is on there, it makes you look, oh, what about this band? Hey, should we give them a chance or that? And you're probably starting to see that now after that song, "I'm Not Right."
Yeah, we had a good with our single before that, "Freak." That was kind of like our
Yep.
first single that we broke the chart at all, and the support of like Sirius XM, like Octane and Liquid Metal, really helped us in kind of like being a catalyst for radio. But then with "I'm Not Right," it was interesting because it was like a heavier song than you would usually hear at the format, but we kind of like that. We grew up listening to like in the time where you would hear like a lot of Disturbed or a lot of Linkin Park or Slipknot and all that kind of corn on the radio, and we always kind of like identified with bands like that. So it was really cool to see "I'm Not Right," break the chart and do so well as a song that is typically considered a little heavy for the platform now.
Right.
But it was really cool, and it's always great to see the growth with each single, and like that one I think peaked it hit top 30, which is great, especially for that song, and we're stoked about it, and just really looking forward to "You Never Listen" and how that one's going to do as well. So.
Well, I tell you what, I just heard "You Never Listening." I think it was last week, if I remember right, was sent to me, and we're already spinning it here on the airwaves. But I will go back to the "Freak" song that you were talking about. You had that about a 2-year gap in between, I think, those songs. But yeah, I think that you've gotten the momentum that you need now. It's just now you probably need to get out in front of people to continue that momentum, don't you? And I guess the question I have is, what do you think it's going to take to get bands, to get people back into concerts, into arenas, into, once again, what it was used to be like?
I think people are ready, but it's hard to say when, because everyone's just kind of waiting for the right time. When does it seem safe? When I think a few months from now, middle of the year, end of the year, we'll start feeling out, when is the right time to go back out there. But it's just so hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
Are you guys planning at least for maybe fall, winter, trying to get out and do something? I guess I'm kind of getting, and I've talked to a lot of artists here in the last couple months, and it seems like everybody's kind of gearing up, hoping maybe the second half of the summer, the fall, is when things will maybe start to open up a little bit more. Are you making those plans, or are you still kind of on hold right now?
I mean, for the most part, bands are kind of on hold because you just don't know. But obviously we're hoping for no later than the fall. Hopefully we'll be able to get out there. We have a lot of like tentative plans and offers and stuff like that, but it's impossible to know if they can happen or not at this point. But we were hoping for late summer, early fall, but we're just not sure. So I'm hoping no later than the fall. That's what I have my fingers crossed for, but we'll see. Like I said, it's just kind of impossible to know for sure.
I guess the other question would be, is the comfort level of your band and maybe other bands in the industry. What are you hearing, I guess, through the grapevine of the comfort level of once this kind of moves on, that people are willing to go out and perform again?
I hear personally a lot of like mixed reviews. You have some people who are like, as soon as concerts come back or tickets go on sale, I'm there. And then you have other people who say, I'm not there until the majority of the country's vaccinated and everything's kind of a little leveled out. I think it's more of a concern for the spectator than it is for bands, because us as bands, no matter what size, we can regulate like how many people we're around. We're just up on stage and then we go backstage, and it's easier to regulate that. But it's harder to regulate thousands and thousands of people in a crowd, and I think that's the biggest concern. I don't think the concern is as much for like the artists because, like I said, we can literally go back there and isolate ourselves if we want to. Um, it's a bummer because in our industry you do want to go out and meet fans, you want to sign things, you want to shake hands, and like that is kind of also another issue right now. But it's very mixed as far as like spectators are concerned. I hear both, so I think it's kind of split.
How concerned are you about some of the venues that used to be there that no longer are there, and how you're going to have opportunities to get out and perform? Obviously, you want to get out and perform at as many venues as you can, but when there's unfortunately venues that have had to close because of the pandemic and will not reopen, is that a concern for artists too?
I think it's definitely a concern. I mean, I think that's one of the big bummers of the pandemic in general is just so many venues and places not being able to stay open without those shows. But with that, like at some point there will be a huge kind of like rebound from this. There's where some of these venues might have closed, maybe some of those old owners might start something new, and there's going to be no shortage of people excited to go out and see live music when this is over. So I think it's a bummer right now, but I think that once everything's back and going, I mean that excitement level is going to be there, and we can get some of those venues back and, maybe have some new ones in their place.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a bummer because that and, touring crew and people like that have been struggling is, really rough.
I mean, did you ever think in your wildest dreams, both Josh and Diamond, we would even have this conversation or have these kind of questions?
Never.
Of course. And that's why it's crazy because, people ask us, you just ask, how do you think it's going to be, and or how do you navigate this? And it's like we can guess,
right.
All of us can kind of guess, but none of us have ever really lived through anything like this before. I think unless you're 90 and went through the last one they had years ago, but it's just no one knows how to really navigate this. We're all kind of living day to day with it.
Yeah, and I think it's just crazy too. It still blows my mind. A year into this, walking into the grocery store and seeing everybody, in masks.
Mm-hmm.
You would have never thought you would see something like that ever. And, it's a year later and I'm still this is crazy. The whole world has had this happen, and it's just, I would have never thought it.
No, not at all. Hey, we're talking with Josh and Diamond from the band Tetrarch, and let me ask you guys, since we've been talking about venues, talking about tours, and hopefully you guys will get back on some tours that you might be interested in maybe getting on, and maybe more or less, who are some bands that you'd like to go out and perform with? Who do you think would be a good fit for you guys? And we'll ask each one of you, so whoever wants to start, if maybe Josh, you want to answer that question first, and then Diamond can give her bands that she would like to go out with.
Yeah, so I mean, we are, let me think how to say this. We have, obviously, there's our bands that we grew up listening to and all that, would be amazing to go out with, a Metallica or something like that. Obviously, we'd be chomping at the bit right now to go do. But, I will say that we're very, very focused on Tetrarch, and we kind of want to build to be that next headliner in the heavy spectrum. So, I mean, we're going to tour with whoever, and just kind of grow Tetrarch as our number one goal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. How about you, Diamond?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. It's obviously there's bands that fit ours, and like I mentioned some before, that we grew up listening to, that we kind of have, a similar crossover metal approach with, your Korns and Slipknots and Disturbs and Metallica and all of that kind of thing. But it's kind of like Josh said, we're going to do what we need to do and make the right touring decisions for our band, but the ultimate goal is to become headliners. So when people ask, who do you want to tour with, it's cool. Obviously, we would love to go out and tour with bands that we're fans of and bands that we enjoy, but at the end of the day, our main concern is Tetrarch and how we can become that headliner that other bands want to go out and tour with. So
nice. Okay. Hey, Diamond, let me ask you this question. What do you think of Josh, I guess, as a bandmate?
I hate him.
Hey, see, now we're getting deep here. So we're gonna find out some true. We're getting some true information here. Oh yeah, I gave you the softball questions earlier. Now we're hitting golf balls here. Okay.
No, Josh is literally, he's my best friend in the world. Like I said, I've known him since we were 11, and we've gone through, there's literally nothing in my life that I've gone through, whether it's band related or personal related, that he hasn't been there for. And, he's my best friend. He's like my brother. So like, I can't imagine doing all the things in my life that I do without him as my partner and without him by my side and doing it. And, I would say we chose each other, but I chose a very good partner in this journey, because where my talents, come to an end, his pick up, and vice versa. He helps me through things and I help him through things. So I don't know. I can't say enough good things about him. He's genuinely a really good person and, a really good guy. And I consider myself lucky.
All right, Josh, I'm going to ask the same question. So what do you think of Diamond and her being in the band?
I've been waiting to say these things for years. No, I will echo that. Like I said, Diamond's like my best friend in the world, has been since, we were 11, 12 years old. I think one of the coolest things with us is that we balance each other out really well. Like, Diamond is very much like the hardest working person you're ever going to meet in your life. Like, literally stays turned on, switched on to Tetrarch 24/7, 365. Like, she is in it 100%. And so sometimes she doesn't take a second to kind of stop and enjoy things as they're happening, whereas I'm following that opposite spectrum where I just think everything's amazing, like, that goes on. So we kind of have a really good balance to that. Like, I can sometimes help her be like, hey, calm down. Well, let's calm down a second. Just think about all the cool things that we've done, and what we're doing. And then she also helps, whip me into shape when I'm just like procrastinating on something, because that's what I do with my life in general. And, I need her to be like, hey, go do this. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's a really good balance that we have with each other.
So you're telling me, Josh, you're a rainbows and unicorn kind of guy?
Oh yeah, I pretty much love everything that goes on with us. I'm an eternal optimist.
And Diamond's badass is what you're telling me, right?
She is.
I call myself a realist.
There's that too, exactly. Hey, let's talk about the new song, You Never Listen. Give me the backstory on this song, and I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I listened to a song one time, and I can tell right away if it's going to be a hit or it's not. This song definitely has top 20 written all over it. So give me the nuts and bolts about this song.
Yeah, so You Never Listen was I think it was actually the second song that was started for the album. And it went through all kinds of forms and like different variations and whatever. But the song basically, the gist of it is just like, it's for anyone going through a rough time in any kind of relationship. It's whether it's with a family member, a friend, it could even be internally with yourself or a significant other. And it's just like, people change over time. And sometimes you see sides of people that you've never seen before and that you realize, you don't want to be a part of anymore. And sometimes it's okay to just, say, hey, I won't take this anymore, and kind of get away from those situations. And, we wanted to get that point across, but do it in a way that was easily relatable to anybody's situation, and just try to do something, catchy with some heavy parts. And it came together pretty fluidly, I would say.
Yeah, it did. I think it did. And, of course, it's off that new album, which I believe is coming out April 30th, called Unstable. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. It's coming out April 30th through Napalm Records.
All right. So give us, I guess we got to get going here, but I guess if people want more information about the album, want more information about the band, how can they get that?
Yeah, they can find us pretty much anywhere. Our website, tetrarchmusic.com, has, all of the pre-sales and merch and pre-order everything for the new record. But also, if you type in Tetrarch on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you should find us. We should be the first thing that comes up, and we update those regularly. So you can stay up to date with us there as well.
Awesome. Now, have you guys been to Minnesota before?
We have.
You have. Okay.
Yeah, we have.
For show or just people here?
Did we play it? Was it like Caboose or something?
Ah, yes, the Caboose. Yep, in Minneapolis. Yep.
Yeah, we played with Devil Driver and Cane Hill and
Okay.
Six Crazy Fists.
Was it 70 degrees like it is in Atlanta today, or was it like 10 below like it is right now?
It was summertime, so it was pretty nice.
It was
Was
nice.
it fall?
I think it was either summer or fall. I think that tour was like in October, like in a little before, maybe like into summer, something like that.
Well, if you don't remember, it must have been one hell of a show, right?
It was. I remember it being a pretty good show. I actually remember getting our guitar ESP endorsement offers at that show.
Nice.
So in an email. I don't know why I remember that, but I do. So it's a special place in my heart.
Well, good. Well,
I remember us also eating at a Taco Bell over there. It was like one of the strangest Taco Bells ever. But that's a story for another day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we could talk forever here, but I'm sure people want to hear your latest song. But once again, Diamond, once again, Josh, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks so much for letting us know a little bit more about your story, and we wish you the best of luck in the months and years to come.
Thank
you so much. We appreciate y'all's support. You guys have been awesome.
Once again, that is Josh. That is Diamond. The band is Tetrarch. Their latest song is called You Never Listen. You're hearing it right now. It's on The Dark. It's on FM 94.